technical assistance and services that are going to be available through this program. As I mentioned earlier, tonight we're going to be using the chat feature of Zoom. So if you could put any chats or comments you have in the chat feature, and we will be sure to get to your question during tonight's presentations. And we're excited to introduce some of our speakers tonight. So our agenda for this evening is our welcome and introduction. We're going to introduce the Charlotte Business Inclusion Office with Michelle Torres, and she'll be covering some great features that the Charlotte Business Inclusion Office has for you guys, including how to communicate with procurement, all about the city certification process, and how to navigate early bird contractor opportunities. And then Lakeisha Bearden and Robert Lowry and Rosa Osario will talk from Meriwether-Williams Insurance Services. Will speak about the City of Charlotte Contractor Development Program and all of the services, the assessment and technical assistance, bonding assistance, contract finance assistance program, and field support programs. And then Mark Boyster and his team will be able to speak about the bonding program, what it means to have your broker relationships, your surety relationships, and some highlights from the North Carolina State Construction Office and any state licensing requirements. And then I'll be back to talk to you a little bit about navigating certification processes. We'll talk a little bit about building business credit and talk through some of the resources that are available to you all as you continue to grow your businesses. So with that, I will hand it off to the Meriwether team for continued introductions.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Zahn. My name is Lakeisha Bearden. I am the Director of Program Development here with Meriwether-Williams Insurance Services. So we're so glad to be able to be here with you today, just to really talk a little bit more about and more in depth about the program services we offer. I know most of you are either in discussions with some of my colleagues, or you've already had your own one-on-one assessment meetings so far. And so we're just excited about really working with Charlotte and all the businesses there to really grow your capacity overall. So again, welcome. Thank you for taking this time out to really hear about what John mentioned, a lot of the program services that we have and the resources that we have really are designed to grow your overall business and your capacity. So a little bit about Meriwether-Williams. We are by license a commercial property and casualty risk management program service. We've been in business for over 25 years now. We're headquartered in San Francisco, and we have programs throughout the state of California. And our first program here is within Charlotte. So it's been a long journey for us. We too are a small minority woman-owned business. We have all the certifications except disabled veteran. So we have a great deal of understanding from where you're coming from. It's basically peer-to-peer. So we understand a lot of the hurdles and the pitfalls that a lot of you businesses have to overcome in order to really grow. So we come from a level of experience, obviously ourselves personally, but also working with a lot of you small businesses over the past 25 years. Robert, is there another slide or?
No, it'll be Mark can introduce himself and do some remarks before we turn it over to Michelle.
All right, so I just wanted to take a moment to introduce our one of our program partners. And without the Carolina Small Business Development Fund, it would be really difficult for us to position ourselves in a way to be able to provide bonding assistance and contract-based financing. So I want to take a moment to introduce Mark. You want to speak on a little bit about the program services that you all offer.
Sure. Thank you, Lakeisha. Thank you, Robert. We are excited to be partners with Meriwether-Williams Insurance Services to deliver this program to contractors in the city of Charlotte. We will be working directly with Meriwether and Williams to be sure that not only that there is bonding readiness and our ability to assist when necessary, but also on the contract finance side and making sure that we are able to support where we can funding efforts for projects that contractors will be awarded. We cover the state of North Carolina with small business lending. We've been doing it for over 30 years now and are constantly looking for ways to help penetrate our small business lending market. So we will definitely, as contractors are coming before and within this program, will be definitely available to assist with other lending needs, whether that be equipment purchases, working capital outside of specific project finance. And our president and CEO, Kevin Dick, was unable to be a part of this, but he did want to make sure that we acknowledged that we are very excited about working there in Charlotte. He actually came to us from Charlotte, working there before, very interested in the economic development for the area. And so we will stand tall with Meriwether and Williams as partners, and we're committed to making sure that this program is successful. Thank you, Lakeisha.
Thank you, Mark. And I just wanted to mention to all of you, you're probably wondering, well, what does insurance have to really do with the work that we do? Well, we're probably best known for our contractor development and bonding services that we provide. And I spoke a little bit about the programs that we have throughout the state of California, but it really is designed to help contractors grow their capacity, but also just identifying the hurdles that prevent contractors, small businesses from really having an opportunity to work within any agency, but specifically here with the city of Charlotte. So the city of Charlotte, specifically the small Charlotte's Business Inclusion Program, has really invested in taking time to invest in a program like ourselves so that we can be a great resource and value to you businesses while you're navigating the procurement process within Charlotte. What does that look like? You're going to hear a lot about that today, but just wanted to give a shout out to CBI at Charlotte and for really investing in all of you and being able to identify that there are some barriers that are preventing you from really taking advantage of the business opportunities with Charlotte. And what they did to go about that is really enlisting our program to be of service to you. So with that being said, I wanted to take a moment to introduce Michelle Torres with Charlotte Business Inclusion Program.
Thank you so much, Lakeisha. Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Torres. I am the Business Inclusion Manager for the Charlotte Business Inclusion Program. I'm so excited to be here with everyone tonight. This has really been a long time coming. We have started discussions around this program, I think almost 3 years ago at this point. So seeing it come to fruition with the orientation meeting, we are just really thrilled. Bonding has been such a huge barrier over the years for all of our firms. And we're really excited that we are able to move forward with this program and really help all of our certified firms grow their bonding capacity and get assistance with bonding for city projects. And so thank you all for being here tonight.
So Michelle, it's time for you to do your presentation.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to turn my video off. So hopefully my connection doesn't lag today. Let me get my presentation up. Okay. There we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Sure can.
Yes.
Perfect. So just a little background about the Charlotte Business Inclusion Program and what our mission and goals are for the city of Charlotte. So Our goal is to enhance competition and participation of minority, women, and small business enterprises, or MWSBEs, in city contracting, to increase certified MWSBE vendor pool and assist city certified firms in growing, enhancing, and developing their businesses, and to provide development programs that support certified businesses in organizational training, strategic development, and networking opportunities. So the Contractor Development Program is one of the programs that we support to provide resources to our certified firms. And just a quick overview of our role as the Charlotte Business Inclusion Office, and a little bit about what we do aside from the certification end of it. So we do certify and register minority, women, and small business enterprises, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. We ensure contracts are assessed for MWSBE goal opportunities. So basically, all of the city contracts come through us to be evaluated to determine if there are opportunities for MWSBE firms on them. And if there are, we do evaluate those contracts and set participation goals as availability for our firms warrant them. And this is really to ensure that MWSBE firms are getting a fair shot at city contracting and on our city contracts, and to really encourage that firms be utilized and in turn grow their business with winning the contracts with the city. We also monitor the contracts to ensure CBI program compliance. So basically, our job is not done once the project goes out for solicitation and someone wins it, or someone wins the low bid, or wins the proposal. Our job is for the life of the contract. So even after the award, we monitor city contracts to make sure that the firms are meeting the requirements of the CBI program, to make sure that firms are being paid on time and that the payments are coinciding with what their commitments are. So we make sure the full commitment is achieved and the firms are paid for before the end of the contract. And then we also make sure that anything that happens on the contract, if issues arise or there are concerns, we are available to mitigate those issues and hear the concerns and resolve them throughout the life of the contract. Any payment discrepancies, I mean, we really monitor to make sure that our program is being adhered to. We also track and report citywide MWSBE spend. So along with monitoring those payments and making sure firms are paid on time and are paid in accordance with their commitments, we're also tracking that spend, and we utilize that report to determine where we can make improvements in the future, and also where we are lacking as far as our MWSBE vendors and types of work. If we see common areas of work that are continuously being bid out, but we don't have vendors to support that, that indicates to us that we need to start doing some more outreach. So things like that. We also conduct education and outreach initiatives. So you'll probably get a lot of emails from me or from our inclusion CLT system letting you know that we have events available to sign up for, and you'll be seeing a lot more of those. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. And then we also collaborate with city departments to increase opportunities for MWSBE participation. So again, that goes back to assessing contracts for goal opportunities, understanding what the departments have coming up so that we can alert vendors of what's coming down the line, and just ensuring that when they're putting out projects, they're thinking of how they could potentially target work, how they can break down work a little bit more, making sure that they are actively reaching out to MWSBE firms. So that's just a little bit around what we do. Okay, so onto the certification component. We do not certify minority and women-owned firms. We actually register those firms. And so what is an MWSBE? So minority business enterprise is a business enterprise in which at least 51% is owned, operated, and controlled by one or more members of a minority race. Business enterprise is similar. A business enterprise that is at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by one or more women. And in order to be city registered MBE or WBE, we require vendors to go through the NC Hub office first to get that registration. And then once a vendor is registered either as an MBE or as a WBE through the NC Hub office, then we ask for you to submit your certification letter. And then there are 2 short forms that you fill out, which basically state that you are certifying that you are either of a certain ethnicity to qualify for MBE, or that you are a woman-owned firm to qualify for WBE, and that your location is within our market area, which is the state of North Carolina and York County. And so once we have that information, we register you into our system, and then you're also registered as a city certified vendor. A small business enterprise is a business enterprise that at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by one or more individuals who meet the City of Charlotte's small business eligibility criteria. And I will go over what that criteria is, but the small business enterprise, or SBE, certification is the one certification that we do require an application for. It goes to our certification team. They review it and determine if you fit within the requirements. And then once they make that final determination, you will get registered as a city SBE. And typically the processing time, if you have everything that's needed, is about 7 days. So for SBE eligibility requirements, the qualifying person must own 51% of the business, or at least 51% of the business. Personal net worth should not exceed $750,000. This excludes business ownership, retirement accounts, and eligible equity in a residential home. The firm must have a significant business presence in the Charlotte statistical area. And so here's a little map of the Charlotte statistical area. This is a little bit different than our market area for MWBEs. So as you can see, it's just specific counties around Charlotte, and then also York, Chester, and Lancaster in South Carolina. You must provide a commercially useful function to the city. So basically that means that you must provide a service or a scope of work that the city will essentially contract out for or utilize as part of city work. And your gross sales receipts cannot exceed 1/4 SBA size standards. So those are the main eligibility requirements for SBE. The application is available online, but we also have a certification team that can help walk you through the application and answer any questions that you have. And I'm going to put the information at the end of this presentation of who you can reach out to if you have any questions about getting certified after this presentation. All right. So next I'm going to talk about Early Bird. So Early Bird is a website that we utilize and we encourage vendors to utilize for project forecasting. And so we hear a lot, what does the city have coming out? I want to know what projects do you have coming down the line? I'm certified now, but how do I find out about projects and bid on them? So I always recommend vendors open up Early Bird and take a look on the website, because it is project forecasting for all of the city departments, and it forecasts projects that are coming out within the next 12 to 18 months. The project lists estimated advertisement dates, so you can get an idea of when to be prepared for this to go out on the street, available for solicitation. It lists the project details, and you can filter by a bunch of different types of projects. So you can filter by commodity code, a specific department, a contract type. So for example, if you are an architectural firm, you can search just by architectural engineering services instead of looking through all of the projects, because there are a lot. And it'll let you know the release date, the contract value estimate, and if they intend to have utilization on the contract. Some of the projects already know which utilization they're going to have, other projects don't. But that is a really important area to look at because it will let you know whether or not a project is federal or non-federal. So if the certification utilization says MBE, WBE, or SBE, that means it's city funded. If it says DBE, that means it's federally funded. And so this is the website for Early Bird. I'm going to put it in the chat box as well. And this is what the Early Bird system looks like. So when you go on the website, you'll see a lot of projects here. These were just the first 3 projects examples. And so you can see here, it tells you what department is putting the project out, the name of the project, the anticipated posting date. So this one is August 22nd. So you'll know that during the month of August, you should be on the lookout for this project if this was something that was in your wheelhouse. And then if you go to this little box here that says requirements, I'm going to show you what that looks like when you click on it. So when you click on requirements, it takes you to a page that looks like this, and you'll be able to see the project details fully scoped out here. It'll show you the insurance requirements. So especially for construction, if there's insurance that's required, it'll have it listed here. It'll show you the estimated total value and then the contract term. And then the most important part of looking at the requirements for a project you're interested in is this green box right here where it says for questions, contact. That person is going to be the project contact or the contract manager for the specific project that you're looking at. So if you have any questions about the project, you can reach out to that person and ask. So once you've identified a project and you think, okay, this is definitely something I want to bid on or I want to propose on, the next step is going to the open solicitation website. And I'll put this website in the chat as well. But this is the website for the city of Charlotte that lists all of the open contract opportunities. So when the project that you view goes out for solicitation, it's going to be listed on this website. And this is when you have the time period to either propose as a prime or make your connection to propose as a subcontractor or subconsultant on a project. And so this is what the website looks like. If you scroll down, let me go back. So actually, I'm going to stop my share for a second and actually share the website so you can see what it looks like. So this is the live website here for the open solicitations. And if you scroll down, you'll see that you can search by different criteria. So invitation to bid, typically that's construction or goods, commodities. Requests for qualifications, requests for proposal are for services, and that includes construction services as well. RFI is a request for information. And a request for quotation are the smaller informal projects. Other advertisements, let's see if there's anything listed here. So there's some grant opportunities listed here under other advertisements. So let's just give an example. If you're a construction company, you're going to be looking at invitation to bid. And if you click on it, you'll see here the open contracting opportunities. So if you go to plumbing and miscellaneous related supplies, you can see right here the bid due date and time, August 18th at 3 p.m. So this is when the bids are due. If you click on that, it'll bring you to a page where, again, it shows you the contact details. This is the contract manager for the project and the person that you can send all of your questions to. It will show you the bid date and time again, just to reiterate when it is due, a description of the project, and then pre-bid details. And pre-bid meetings and pre-proposal meetings are meetings that essentially the contract staff, so the city staff, will hold for interested vendors to talk about the project. And during this meeting, they'll give a lot of really in-depth information around the project. They'll talk about the CBI program and the goals related to the project. And they will also allow time to ask questions and have questions be answered as well. So I would highly encourage everyone, if you have a project that you're interested in, to attend a pre-bid meeting or pre-proposal meeting, because not only are you going to get the information around the project and the goals on the project, but you're also going to be able to see who is interested in bidding on that project. So if you're not looking to bid or propose as a prime, that is how you identify who you would want to reach out to make that connection so that you could be a part of a project. Usually if it's a virtual meeting, usually the contract manager will send out the information for everyone who either RSVP'd or attended the meeting, so that you'll be able to narrow down who to reach out to for the project. But I highly, highly recommend it. I also recommend you attending if you are interested in doing work with the city, but feel like maybe this isn't quite the right project or you're not quite ready yet. This is a really good opportunity to go through the process and understand the process a little bit better, to ask questions, to meet the project managers, because these project managers are not just going to be letting one project, they have multiple projects that they're overseeing. So it's a great opportunity to establish relationships. And then here you'll see bid opening instructions. So it lets you know where the procurement portal, where the bid is due, and that in this case it's on Bonfire. Most of the departments are on Bonfire. Aviation is on eBuilder, so you may see projects from aviation that require the bid to be submitted in eBuilder. But the attachments will have information about the project. If there's any addendums that come forth for any changes or clarifications made, it'll have it listed here. So this is a really good resource for anyone that is looking to do business with the city. And I'm going to go back to my presentation. Okay. So upcoming events. So this is another another resource that I would encourage everyone to take advantage of. We often have a few events a month. It can be, doing business with the city for a specific type of project. It can be doing business with the city for construction or for services. We just had one last month for services in person, and we had a great turnout. We were able to do some networking and really talk in depth about the RFP process, the bidding, and the RFQ process. So anytime that we have events that are coming up, if you can work it into your schedule, I would definitely recommend that you attend. We're getting back into a lot of in-person events, and it's a really good opportunity for networking with other small businesses, with primes. We have events that we specifically invite primes to try to do matchmaking. So we actually have an Eventbrite, and I'll put that link in the chat as well. I encourage you to follow the Eventbrite, the Charlotte Business Inclusion Office Eventbrite, because anytime that we have a new outreach coming out, it will notify you as soon as it's posted. And we're adding outreach events all the time. And, we also email our vendors as well to let everyone know that we have these events, but a lot of times they fill up really quickly. And sometimes we'll have to turn people away because we're at room capacity. And so if you follow on the Eventbrite, you'll get notified right away. So you can be one of the first people to sign up. So for August, we do have a virtual information session for the airport's parallel runway project. This is actually going to be the first project that we specifically tie to this program. And we're really excited about it because it is going to be a lot of work that's coming down the line. And we want to make sure our certified firms are notified that this work is coming out and prepared to bid on this project. This project is actually going to be a federal project and open to DBE certified firms. If you have questions about that certification, please feel free to reach me offline. I can talk to you about that. But a lot of our MWSBE firms are dual certified as DBE firms. And since this program is open to both MWSBEs and DBE firms, we want to make sure that everyone is taking advantage of it. So we'll have that virtual information session on August 29th. You will see an email coming out for me most likely tomorrow with the invitation to sign up. In September, there's going to be an in-person networking event around that project on September 12th. And that information will be coming out shortly with a specific time. We are also looking at doing business with the city event for services in a virtual setting in September as well. We just haven't decided on the date. This is because we had so much interest in the in-person event, but we had vendors that couldn't make it in person. And because our room capacity filled, we're doing a second one virtual so that more people can attend. And then we're also doing an IT services networking event in person next month as well. Again, we're just trying to settle on a date. And once we do, you will start seeing emails around that. All right. And then this is my contact information, and I'll be answering questions now as well and tonight. But if you have any questions after this orientation, if you have a few days to look at the slideshow and think about things, please feel free to reach out to me. That is my email address and my phone number. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And then I've also listed Kimberly Tibbs information for certification. So any specific questions about MWSBE certification and registration, if you're interested in applying or registering, please reach out to Kimberly Tibbs. You can copy me as well. We would be more than happy to help you start that process or answer any questions that you have about it.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that great overview of the Charlotte Business Inclusion Office and the services you provide. And thanks for taking the time to meet with the contractors that are participating in the program. And I'm also going to post the link to the CBI portal in the chat. And if you have questions, remember to use the chat feature and we will go ahead and answer those accordingly. I saw Mr. Polanco raise his hand. Do you have a question for Michelle? Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next segment of our orientation, which is the Meriwether team with Rob and Rosa.
Don, I think there's a question in the chat about pre-bid meetings. Can I answer in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I am so happy to be here. I see some familiar faces on Zoom. My name is Rosa Osorio. I am the Assistant Program Manager for Meriwether and Williams. We administer the Contractor Development Program with the City of Charlotte. So basically the program's purpose and mission is to reduce barriers of bonding capacity, enabling greater and successful participation of small, local, minority, women, and disabled veteran-owned businesses and public contract opportunities. And basically the program is divided into what we call the 4 pillars of contractor development, which is the assessment and technical assistance, bonding, contract and finance assistance, the education, training, and contract support, and the prime contractor partnership. Next slide, please. So an overview of the program services is we are here to assist you in obtaining a new or increasing your current bonding capacity. So if you've never been bonded before, We're here to help you obtain your first bond line. If you already have a bond line and have identified a project which is larger than your current bonding capacity, we can assist you in increasing your current bonding capacity. We also can assist with contractor development and capacity building and technical assistance. We offer the contract-based finance program, which Robert will talk about it a little bit later on in the presentation, but it's basically a contract-based financing for small businesses, which allows a contractor to use awarded contracts as collateral. We also do have a dedicated contractor development manager to assist you with business development. So once you're enrolled in the program, we assign you a contractor development manager that's going to assist you with, they're going to set up an assessment meeting and go over all the goals that you have for the company and how the program can assist you in achieving those goals. You also have access to the collateral support. As it was mentioned before, we have partnered with the Carolina Small Business Fund to provide collateral support. So if you have identified a project that requires a bid payment and performance bond and you're unable to qualify on your own, whether it's because you don't meet the credit criteria or your financial statements, and the surety says you can qualify with collateral support instead of you putting up your own collateral, the program will put up the collateral on your behalf in order to qualify for the bonds. And this will be in the form of a letter of credit, 40% up to $250,000, whichever is less. You also have access to accounting cost subsidy. So if the surety requires you to provide CPA prepared financial statements, the program can assist you with providing $3,200 to pay for those. We know that financial statements can be costly. We can either work with your current CPA or we have CPA partners that we can refer you to. You'll also have access to our, bid opportunities. We'll send out bid notifications to those companies that, will benefit from that bid opportunity depending on your scope of work. We'll also have project and event email alerts, just everything that's going on throughout the city of Charlotte, any prime notifications, any prime events, any workshop, anything that's going on, we will be sending out an email to let everybody know. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I just want to chime in real quick, Rosa, sorry to interrupt. When we were talking about the assessment, we reached out to some of the contractors. Hey, make sure you're checking your spam. Some of us are sending out emails versus calling. So make sure you check your spam because we want to make sure that everyone has enrolled online, that we are reaching out to you so we can get you into the program to get you started with all these services that Rose and myself will be talking about.
Yes, so I have sent out emails following up to everybody that's registered, and I haven't gotten a response to everybody. So yeah, please check your email because we do want to set up that assessment meeting with you to go over all our services and start working with you, getting you ready to bid on these projects. Assessment and technical assistance. Like I said, once you're enrolled in the program, which if you're not yet enrolled, we'll put the enrollment link in the chat so that you can go ahead and enroll. We'll set up an assessment meeting to go over the goals for the company, to go over all the services and how we can assist you in taking your company to the next level. We'll create a customized work plan, which kind of like next steps that you, with our assistance, we need to take in order to be ready to bid on these public projects. We can create a contractor profile, like a capability statement, such as the one, I know you can't really see it, but that's our contractor profile that you can use as a marketing tool. We can also assist you with certifications. We know that it's important for you to be certified with the City of Charlotte and to bid on these projects. We can assist you with bid document reviews. So if you have identified a bid that you would like to bid on, if you send us the documents, we can act as a second set of eyes to make sure that all the documents are, in place, all the questions are answered, everything's signed, notarized. We don't look at numbers because that will be a conflict of interest, but we will help you put the bid together, making sure that everything's in place. We also have contract completion support. So Robert, he's our field support project manager. He can assist you with reviewing a contract before you sign. Make sure that he'll identify everything that you need to be aware of before you signing a contract. We also have our monthly workshops. We'll have throughout the rest of the year, we'll have different workshops coming up. You'll be able to see what's coming up and in some of the other slides. We all encourage you to attend our workshops. We try to put together topics that will benefit you when bidding on public projects. We're also working on putting together a construction training academy, our bidding and estimating, and contract award management. These will all be 5 weeks, and they will be hybrid, I believe. And so, so the first and the last class will be in person, and the 3 classes in between will be virtual. So again, we encourage you to assist this. We know that education is important, and we want everybody to be ready and to understand how the bidding and estimating goes, how the contract, once you're awarded a contract, what happens to beginning to end. So these will be very beneficial to you. We'll also, have our prime partnership program. We are currently setting up meetings and partnering with the large primes that are currently working on the large projects in the city of Charlotte so that, they will be, some of the primes will be the ones come to teach our academies. So you'll be able to, meet one-on-one with them, ask questions, you'll be able to understand how their pre-qualification goes and how to bid on their projects. So again, I encourage you to attend our academies. And if you have any primes that you would like to, be pre-qualified, just let us know, and then we'll establish that relationship and then get you started with them. Again, all the services that we provide are free, so please take advantage of them. If you're not yet enrolled, again, we'll put the link in the chat so you can get enrolled. And if you are enrolled, just reach out to your contractor development manager. If you already had an assessment meeting, if you have any questions. If not, please respond to our email so we can set up that first meeting. And I will now turn it over to Robert to talk about CFAP.
Okay, so we briefly talk a little bit about CFAP. Mark had mentioned that their company is our local partner that will be administering the contract-based finance and the collateral. So a couple of bullet points here. There's a lot more about the contract-based finance program, but here's a few bullet points that you should be aware. It must be a MWSBE and DBE certified firm. Your construction contracts, we use your construction contract or subcontract agreement as the collateral. That way, because most time in the industry, getting a traditional loan, it's kind of hard. So we use your contract as a collateral there. The money is released as needed, so not all up front. So a good example is, you're on a job and, it's 60 days before you get paid. And your bank account is running low, so you say, hey, I need $250,000 just seed money to mobilize. So we will go through the process, do a pre-qualification to see exactly how much do you really need through a cash flow projection. At that point, instead of 250, we say, what, you can make it with 150. And at that point, we will say when we can disperse it. That's all under the underwriting process of that. So that way you're not borrowing more money and paying interest on money that you're not using. So it's a very smart program. And it's earmarked for approved projects by the city. The interest rate right now is that market rate. So it's a really good interest rate on it. It's a short-term loan, about 4 to 6 months on average. Just depends on when you can fully repay the loan. But not the project, because we'll see when you start getting your accounts receivable coming in to where you can repay the loan as you're still working on the project. And that leads to, your bills get paid first, then the lender, then you. That way we are showing that everyone is getting paid so that there are no defaults. And, we want to make sure that you're pre-qualified to work, before the time of bid. The pre-qualification process, on average takes about 4 months. I'm not sorry, 4 months, 4 weeks. It just depends on how prepared you are with your financial statements that we've been talking about, your resumes, all that kind of information. We have a checklist that we go through to ask you. So if you're ready, and you're going to be bidding on a city job or already been awarded one, we can get started with this pre-qualification process. This cuts down the time of the underwriting once you've been awarded a job. So with your CDMs, we'll start to identify your opportunities and we'll start working on that part. We do have a third-party funds administration that's required. The third-party funds administration is where the money goes into a holding account that pays the bills. So you're not the one that's paying it. This reduces the risk on a job. We talked about the interest rate, and then the reason for this, it helps you build, your capacity for other jobs. So in the future, as you start to build your capacity, you can get more traditional lending, lines of credits, bigger jobs, and also it boosts your credit score that we've talked about. So all these things help you build a capacity of business. There are classes that you will be taking, doing once for the CFAP cash flow projection. Can I afford it? That's what I was talking about. It's a lengthy process, but it tells you, it pulls the skin back on you, the layers back on your company, see where you are financially. And it's just really a great enlightening tool there. And it also helps to get, future projects there. So that's a little bit about that. Mark, is there anything else you want to add about the contract-based finance or anything before I move on?
No, sir. I think you've covered most everything that we've been talking about to this point, Robert.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We're going to keep moving here. We're going to go into the bid document review. There's a disclaimer that Rosa talked about. It's like, neither Meriwether and Williams or the city of Charlotte is responsible for errors and oversights as your numbers. I'll work with you and I can look at some of the numbers and say, did you include? It kind of prompts you to think about, okay, is this number correct? One thing we really want to educate people on how to put a bid document together, your estimate. We're seeing if it's a lump sum, contractors will put their general conditions above in the trade related costs. It's hard to monitor things like that when you're doing it. So we're going to help you do that. And also when you are working on your general conditions, you have your proper schedule, things like that, just to educate you. We go through the documents to make sure that the signatures are there. If you need to get something notarized, we want your packet to be complete. So we will try to attend pre-bids as well to listen in to see what is being said at the meetings. We would like to go through the contract. That is a key thing to see what the owner requirements are. You read through that. We tell you to read every document, every page of this invitation to bid, the contract documents. It tells you the special provisions. It talks about a lot of things that you really don't know until you read it. And it's like the hours of the project. Is it, 9 to, well, I'm sorry, first shift, second, off hours, weekends, because that affects your labor rates. So reading that, going through the plans and specs for your section. And back in the olden days, it was, you get the blueprints and you have to go through it. Things were missing. Now this PDF is virtual. You can read and always tell people, just because if you're an electrical engineer, electrical or plumbing or HVAC, and you go to your sheets, there's times where there's notes in the general notes on the architect's plan somewhere that's referred to some of your scope. So read all the plans, make sure you see everything, because you don't want scope gaps. And that's one thing that I will work with you about is, did you read the plans? Did you check the architect? Did you check the finished plans? Existing conditions. That is what we do with this, to go through the bid document review. So it takes about 3 or 4 times to make sure that we have it right. And we want to make sure, do not wait till like 3 or 4 days before your first bid to ask for help. It's going to be hard. So if it's been out and you're like, hey, I need help right away, reach out to your CDM to schedule this bid document review. Please do not wait. And then we also will do a post-bid debrief. That is like okay, what happened with your numbers? Why weren't you successful bidder? You can also reach out to the hiring agency to Charlotte CBI and say, hey, can you give me a little bit of a debrief? They're not going to give you the exact numbers, but they're going to help you because we all want to help you. So the next time around, you have a better chance of, winning your the contract. Contract completion support. This is after you have won the job and you have signed the contract. We're going to have a kickoff meeting with you, myself, and if it is collateral, we have funds control will be on there, and the project owner. And so everybody's on the same page. And we're going to go through the process to make sure you understand what funds controls are. There's a checklist that we'll go through to make sure you have identified everything that you need for the job. We have monthly reports. It's a contract status or principal status report. And these reports are received from you and the owner as progress monthly to talk about, okay, where's percent completed? Do you have open change orders, the billing? Are there any issues out there? So I receive all these documents and I review them to see if there's any discrepancy. Then we'll sit down and say, hey, you're saying you're 75% done. The city's saying that you're 30, why is there a difference? But it's a great monitoring tool for risk management. We'll work with you on the billings and payments to make sure that you're getting your pay apps completed correctly the first time. So that way it's not delaying your approval and payments. We track that with the funds control. The funds control will receive the money funds from the city. Then they will pay your bills. You have to do your pay apps as well to them so they can track it. Unconditional waivers for progress, conditional waivers, all those documents, we can help you assemble. But I always tell you, if you win a job, the first thing you want to do is have that meeting with the owner, the hiring agency, and go through some of these requirements. Like, hey, what do you want to see on the billings? What does your change order request looks like? So that way you are getting the information from them upfront right away, so you're not having delays. Construction schedule. We're going to go through that to see that you have developed your schedule right, or if you're starting to slip, what can we do? There's site visits. There will be time to time where I'll be out there in Carolina, coming to some of the sites and visiting, walking and see what's going on to help your field crew to minimize any risk, safety issues. But we're here for you at all times for anything. I'll go through your change order log to make sure that you're doing your change orders. You want to reconcile monthly, because if you have change orders out there and they have not been approved, you can't bill for that. You've done the work, you haven't billed for it. So you want to reconcile monthly. Another thing is you want to make sure before you walk off of that job that all of your change order requests have been approved, rejected, or whatever it is. Because once you leave that site, you have lost the leverage of reconciling and negotiating change orders. That's a key thing because you want to bill. You don't want that to go on. And then the closeout, go through that, understanding your warranties, your as-bills are drawn. So I will be, holding your hand through that until you're real comfortable. You can stay in this program as long as you need it. We're here for you. There's no time limit for you to be in the program. So I just wanted to make sure that I do put that out there. We wanted to see you grow. So at this point, are there any questions before we move on to the next portion?
There was one question from Alyssa Nash. She wanted to know, are subcontractors required to bid in the manner you described, or is the bid process typically handled by the prime?
If you're bidding to a prime, there you will also need to understand their process requirements. Now, if they are bidding to the city, there could be some passed down requirements from the city that the prime needs to have and you need to have. So it's just understanding what's in the contract for the prime as well.
Okay, follow-up question.
Mhm.
As a subcontractor, what level of support can we expect from you? Like, will you still hold our hand and look at the contracts and that kind of thing?
Yes, yeah. Regardless if you're a subcontractor or a prime to the city, we're going to do the same service to you. We're not going to leave you, oh, you're a subcontractor. No, you're just as important to us regardless what kind of contract you have.
Right.
And Robert, I just want to confirm that you just said that we're allowed to stay in this program as long as we like. I just want to make sure it's exactly okay. I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
really mean that, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've had contractors that's been in the program for years. You go at your pace to build your capacity. Once you get to that point where you don't need, the collateral and things like that, and you're operating fine, you're a medium-sized company, large, then at that point. But you can stay as long as you want. You can become active, inactive. It's up to you.
Awesome. Great questions, everyone. Thank you so much.
I have one question for Robert before we move on to the next section.
Mhm.
On the Contract Finance Assistant Program, the collateral is used by the contracts that are agreed upon. But I'm curious if the contractors can begin the pre-qualification process prior to bidding or winning a job, or is that something that takes place as soon as you secure your first contract?
For your bond, you can do a quick qualifier to see exactly what you can be bonded up to. Chris is going to talk a little bit about that next. Now, for the contract-based finance portion, yeah, if you want to get started now with your pre-qualifications, I say, start that now, even though it could be a couple months down the road or half a year. At least you're pre-qualified, then we can come back and say, okay, update your financials to see where you are. It cuts down the time of underwriting for the contract-based finance loan. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I was wondering if that process can be started, prior to winning a job.
Yes, it can.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Miguel. All right, Robert, I think we're ready for our next segment.
Yeah. So at this point, we're going to turn it over to the bonding portion, which is Chris from McGriff. And I know he's probably got some of his team members on here. So at this point, Chris, I am going to run the slides for you, sir. And if you're ready, Chris.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks to everyone at Meriwether Williams. Good afternoon, everyone. I do have a teammate. I'm a bond broker with McGriff in North Carolina. I've got a teammate, Lourdes Londa, who is also on the call. And together we were both bond brokers. Over the last 20 years, we've helped many minority women and small business enterprises get bonding credit or get more bonding credit. So this kind of dovetails into what this program is doing. And we've seen this program in other areas in which it operates. And it's a great program. So glad it's here in North Carolina. We'll go to the next slide there, Robert. So if you're not familiar with bonding, maybe some on the call are, maybe some are not, or completely new to it. But it's pretty important to understand that bonding is not insurance. Insurance is a two-party agreement where you're buying insurance. We're all familiar with that. And if you have a loss, then that's covered. Bonding is really a third-party guarantee. So it involves you, the contractor, and the bonding company, which is usually part of the big insurance company that has a bonding department. And then that obligation is actually, that bond is actually being given, in this case, to the city of Charlotte. So it's there to protect the city of Charlotte, whereas an insurance policy is there to protect you in case of a loss. So that's a pretty key distinction in the two products. And insurance, depending, if you need insurance in a coastal area for wind coverage, it's going to be expensive, right? But you can get it typically, whereas a surety, a bond, you have to qualify for it. It's not something that you can necessarily just purchase at a higher cost. You actually have to qualify for it. And unlike insurance, there's no loss expected with this, which is kind of an odd concept if you're not familiar with it. But again, it's more like getting underwritten for a loan than it is buying an insurance product. So these bonding companies are looking at everything. We like to say they're really, lifting the hood and looking underneath and looking at the engine and everything there to make sure that what they're guaranteeing, they feel comfortable guaranteeing, is frankly a bonding company's business model. If they did have a lot of losses, they would be out of business pretty quickly. So they have to do what they need to do to protect their company and not have a lot of losses. Why do we even have bonds? There was a federal law that was enacted 100 years ago, roughly over 100 years ago. Some of these, the initial ones, it's there to protect public money. So, our taxpayer dollars are at work on these projects. And if contractors don't fulfill the obligations, then they're going to have to spend more money to complete those projects. So they've been in place for 100+ years to protect public funds. That was at a federal level at first, and then other states and municipalities caught on that this was a pretty good idea to require this. So then we have what are called the Little Miller Acts. If you have access to the screen here on the PowerPoint, and just about every state has adopted these Little Miller Acts, and municipalities have followed suit. A lot of states mandate the municipalities bond projects. Another key element to that, other than the performance aspect, when people talk about getting a bond, quote unquote, they're usually talking about technically two bonds. A performance bond, which again is just the bonding company. The best way to think about it is the bonding company is simply guaranteeing that the contractor is going to do what they say they're going to do according to that signed contract document. That's really all it is in a nutshell. The payment bond aspect of it, which is technically a separate bond, but typically they come together for one price, so you don't pay additionally for the payment bond. But the performance and payment bond come together. The payment bond part of it is that because unlike on a private job, on a public job, whether it's state, federal, local, city of Charlotte, doesn't matter, a public job, unlike a private job, you cannot lien the property on which the job is being performed. So if you're a sub or a supplier downstream and you don't get paid, you have no ability to lien. You can't go lien a school or a courthouse or a highway. So in order to protect subcontractors to making sure they are getting paid by the general contractor, you have the payment bond. So if a downstream sub or supplier doesn't get paid, they're able to make a bond claim and raise their hand and say, I did not get paid on this project. And if that is a valid claim, they will get paid by the bond. It also guarantees price. Again, that's all in the contract. So basically whatever is in the contract, the contractor has to fulfill that. And if they don't, and in this case, the city of Charlotte or anybody that they're contracted with feels like you violated that contract or not upheld your end of the contract, then their ultimate recourse is to call the bonding company and file a bond claim. A little bit in addition to what's on the slide here is that we talked about how I mentioned how there's no losses. They're trying to eliminate losses. One of the ways that they do this, besides taking a thorough look at the contractor, is typically they require a corporate and a personal guarantee for the bond. So if there is a bond claim, the contractor does have their opportunity to state their side of the case. And the claims department, the bonding company, will evaluate both sides. And if they feel it is a legitimate claim and the contractor isn't either able to pay or able to fulfill their obligation, the bonding company is going to make that payment by law. They have to make that right with the obligee. That's who the bond is in favor of. And in that case, then the bonding company will seek reimbursement from the contractor and the owners of that contracting firm if necessary. So everybody is on the hook for that. Again, very similar to a loan and a lot different than an insurance policy. So that's pretty key to note there. It also acts because of what the bonding company is doing in their process and the information that they require, financial information, credit checks, resumes, reference checks, a list of previous largest jobs. They're really trying to ascertain what a contractor is qualified to do in their opinion. Bonding companies can have different opinions on what contractors are able to do. That's why we have, as brokers, we have access to multiple bonding companies. But at the end of the day, they are acting as a pre-qualifying agency, in effect, for the community that hires contractors to do work. So that's a pretty key element of what the bonding world does out there. Lourdes, do you have anything to add to that? You might be on mute. Yeah, Lourdes, you're on mute. Robert, are you able?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. We got you.
Oh, okay. So I would like to just say congratulations for being here. This is the first step. I have worked with Meriwether-Williams on many occasions in other programs, for example, the city of LA. I have a contractor that I remember years ago, I helped them get $1 million bond for work at LAX. And now that contractor is a 45 million, they do $45 million in revenue. They're now bonding contracts in the $14 million range. So I just want to congratulate you for taking the step of starting this process. And Chris and I are going to be here to also help you with the bond, to hold your hand, to explain things to you. And, Robert and Rosa are going to send you my way or to Chris's way, and we're here to help you. And that's the fun part of our job. We love helping small businesses, and we love helping them grow and be successful, and we feel like we're part of your success as well.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, they're great to work with.
Yeah, thanks, Lourdes. Yeah, and then the bonding process, getting bonding, your first time when you move, from maybe a quick bond scenario, which we'll talk about here in a second, to kind of what we call a full submission scenario. It can be a little daunting. It is a lot of paperwork. Again, I know I'm saying this a lot, but it is more like getting credit from a lender, from a bank, much more so than it is just getting an insurance policy. So they do ask for a lot of information, but we're here to help you and guide you along the way. And as brokers, we're your advocates, and we are here to help you put your best foot forward, in the eyes of the surety and the bonding underwriters. So we're here to guide you in that process. And then you have access to this great program to help to really give you a leg up. So it's a huge help to have the collateral help if you need it, to have the ability to get connected to construction CPAs, construction attorneys, that this network, this built-in network that you'll have access to that really will help your business grow and flourish, and hopefully avoid, pitfalls, I think a good first step for, depending on the size jobs you are looking at, that you're comfortable doing as a contracting firm, is what is called, you'll hear it called Fast Track. That's one bonding company that has that. That's their name for it, kind of like Kleenex to tissue, right? But in general, we call those quick bond programs. Those are relatively easy to get involved with. And you typically fill out a 1 or maybe 2-page application. And it's really just a credit-based program. And if your credit is, good or better, then typically you can get bonding credit for up to, $400,000, $500,000, maybe even more in some circumstances. So that's definitely a good entryway to get involved with bonding as you're kind of building your company, get a track record going, getting some bonded jobs under your belt. A lot of surety companies like to see history of previous work that was profitable, good work, so this is a way to kind of do that before you're ready, maybe to take the next step to obtain more bonding. So you can go to the next slide, I think. So Robert, you're a fast worker on the PowerPoint. Well, inside joke between Robert and I. I was a little late getting him, but he's got it up there. So I just wanted to make note when I was talking to the Meriwether and Williams folks, if you're in North Carolina and operating in North Carolina, you know, this is a City of Charlotte program. They're not under the jurisdiction of the North Carolina State Construction Office. But I will say that if you're doing work in other places that involve state money, just know that that collectively it's called state construction. Know that the North Carolina State Construction Office is out there. They have jurisdiction over a lot of things. You can either easily found on the website, they're underneath the North Carolina Department of Administration, but they have their kind of own rules of engagement to do state projects. So anyways, it's just good to know that they're out there if you're operating in the state of North Carolina. Another really good thing to be aware of, North Carolina has some pretty unique licensing requirements for prime contractors. So in North Carolina, if you're going to be a prime contractor, you have 3 options for licensing: limited, intermediate, and unlimited. And there's some special requirements for these that I think are fairly unique. We operate in a lot of states, and this is one of the unique things about North Carolina. I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing, but it's something that you need to be aware of. The limited license is the first one, the first level, and that allows you to do work up to $750,000, a single contract up to $750,000. Now keep in mind, this part is not bonding. Doesn't matter if it's bonded or not, or who you're working for. You need a license if you're going to do work as a prime contractor in the state of North Carolina. So the limited license, it enables you legally to do work up to $750,000. This is residential, commercial, anything other than federal, because if you're working on a military base, everything's under, you know, under the federal rules. So, but anything operating in the state. In order to obtain a limited license, there's a lot of, you know, paperwork you have to fill out. Many of you, I'm sure, have done this already. But in addition to that, you have to prove to them that you have at least $17,000 in working capital or $80,000 in net worth. This is for your company, not you personally. $17,000 in working capital or $80,000 in net worth, or a $175,000 surety bond. So this is a different type of bond. This is not a project specific bond. This would be a license bond. So you could provide a license bond for $175,000 in lieu of meeting the requirement of having $17,000 in working capital or $80,000 in net worth. Basically, you have to do one of those 3. The next step up is the intermediate license, and that allows you to do work, a single project up to 1.5 million. And for that, you have to have $75,000 in working capital. To my understanding, the net worth requirement goes away, but you have to have $75,000 in working capital. It has to be on an audited CPA statement basis, so not tax returns, not QuickBooks. You actually have to have a CPA come in and audit your balance sheet. There is also a form that you can fill out for these folks, but I've heard varying degrees of success with that. A lot of times they will require a CPA statement. And if you don't have that, you could provide a $500,000 surety bond. And again, that's a license bond, not for a specific project. And then your unlimited license, very similar. That's anything over 1.5 million, and the requirements go up on the working capital to 150,000, or a $1 million blanket license bond would need to be put in place. So are there any questions on that? I said we do have a question over here. Let's see. Are you able to help with better bonding rates? It's a great question. A lot of people, I would say, how bonding rates are determined is not, it's opaque at best. It's one of the things our industry, frankly, is not great with. Every bonding company that operates in the state of North Carolina is required to file their bonding rates with the North Carolina Department of Insurance. Everybody has to do that. What the requirements are to meet a certain rate is a lot more ambiguous. In general, the quick bond programs that I talked about a few minutes ago, which is a credit-based program, can get you a bond up to roughly $500,000. Typically, that has a 3% fee, a 3% bond premium with that. I think also important to note, as brokers, there is no additional fee besides that. So you're paying the bond premium, and there's no other fee associated with anything that we do for our clients with that. There are some out there that might be less than 3%, but I would say the general rule of thumb is 2.5%, 3% for those programs. When you get into the full submission program, and again, that means you're providing financial statements, contractor questionnaire, a lot of the stuff, frankly, you would be providing to the city of Charlotte to pursue their work and their RFQ process, I would imagine. But it's similar, you would provide that to a bonding company to allow them to underwrite your case and determine what level of bonding they would be willing to provide you. And certainly the contractor program that Meriwether and Williams puts on would help with that, help you get higher bonding capacity. Typically, when you move into the full submission, that does come with a lower rate. And what that lower rate is varies in two ways. One, it's based on your own qualifications. So the strength of your balance sheet, the amount of time in business, what your previous largest job size is. There's a lot of variables that go into that, calculation that ultimately determines what your bond rate is. So that's one key aspect of it, but it should be less than 3% at that point. It could be 2%, it could be 1.5%. The other thing that determines your bond rate when you go into a full submission program is with the quick bond programs, it's a flat rate. So it doesn't matter how big the contract is. It's going to be 3%. So if it's a $100,000 contract, it's 3%. If it's 500, it's 3%. Typically, when you get into a full submission program, your rate is it's what's called a sliding scale rate. So the larger the contract, the less the bond cost in percentage terms, if that makes sense. So on a $200,000 bond under that scenario, you might pay 2%, for example, but on a $1 million job, you might pay 1.3%. Regardless, you would know what your rates are when you're with the bonding company. That would be stated to you. And in fact, Lourdes and I, for our clients, provide our contractors just an Excel spreadsheet. So when you're on bid day and you're getting numbers in at the last minute and figuring out where your bid price is going to be, all you have to do is enter your bid amount into the spreadsheet that we would provide you, and the rate will be calculated automatically for you. So you would know exactly what your bond premium would be when you bid the job, so that there would be no surprises. I didn't see any other questions on the chat. Did anybody else have any questions related to bonding?
No, we don't have any other questions, looks like.
Chris,
you.
I'd like to add something. When you come to us for bonding, we set you up for any city, any federal job, not just for the city of North Carolina. We can only access our bond assistance program for their jobs. But when you're getting set up for bonding, you're getting set up to work anywhere.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, great point.
And then another thing is we also do SBA bonding. So that's a federal program, but sometimes I've had to put a city and an SBA bonding together. So I'm very grateful that the city of North Carolina is doing this program, because those two programs can work together. They're not competing with each other. They're not separate. I have often used them together.
Okay.
And I just want to add to that. It's like your information that you're sharing with Chris and Lourdes is confidential. Most of us will not see it. So if you're afraid about sharing your financial statements, it's all confidential here.
Yeah, we would be sued, frankly, if we released, information. And I appreciate you saying that, Robert. I've been doing this for 30 years, and that is a cornerstone of what we do is confidentiality. And you know, some, you know, insurance brokerages, they may just ask for your information and just flip it to a bonding company, and whatever the bonding company says, that's what they tell you. Again, we like to advocate for our clients. We've been doing this long enough. We know what you should qualify for based on what we're seeing. So we kind of pre-underwrite even before we send it to the bonding company. And we like to get to know you so that we can be your voice, you know, to the bonding company, and we can tell your story to the bonding company. But that absolutely includes confidentiality. So, you know, we handle a lot of clients, and our clients don't even know who the other clients are. So we keep everything confidential.
I have one more question. I'm sure people are wondering. So once, you know, the collateral's in place, they get the bond, they get the project. What is your role, Lourdes and Chris, at this point through the duration of the project?
So
we're there. Oh, go ahead. Or Chris, you want me to answer?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Lourdes.
We're there to do anything else that you need. Once the project is in place, we make sure that follow up on status inquiry with Robert, because you get a monthly. We make sure that we provide you with any consents of sureties or writers if there's an increase on the contract price. And we make sure that once you tell us that the project is completed, that we close out the project and adjust premium up or down. If you had a contract deduction, change order deducting work, then we may owe you some premium back that you've already paid. However, it's mostly a contract change order increasing your contract price, and we will bill you additional premium at the end of the job. So we like to make sure that you know that your rate is on the total contract price and not just the initial contract amount.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, you know, we have a great support team behind us that, you know, works closely with us, and Lourdes and I also really act in a consultative role for our clients. So you get that project and maybe you're 50% through and it's going well, hopefully it's going well. Then that's a good time to have a conversation about, okay, let's not wait until you're done with that project, you know, to pursue another bonded project, right? Let's go ahead and talk about what's the next step here. Let's use that as a stepping stone, you know, and look out there and really just talk about really your business plan, what you want to do, and how we can help do that. And again, make sure we're messaging that properly to the bonding company. The idea with the bonding companies is most successful contractors have very long-term relationships with not just their bond broker, who again is your advocate, but they also tend to have long relationships with their bonding company. So that relationship with your actual underwriter, a lot of times you will meet your underwriter on an annual basis. We'll have the opportunity to tell them directly what your plans are. These bonding company underwriters, just like us, just like Lourdes and I, we've seen a lot of situations. We've seen a lot of people, really good contractors, get themselves into trouble, and they kind of center around some of the same issues, you know, growing too fast, moving out of your geographic territory, you know, and it can seem reasonable to do that, but we're here to kind of guide you and say, hey, have you thought about this angle? You know, maybe you should grow a little bit more slowly, still grow, but just don't grow too fast, because that can get you into trouble with cash flow, which is really important, obviously. Helping out with, you know, getting bank referrals, CPA referrals, construction intern referrals, all of those things. If you're a GC, you know, we know a lot of subcontractors in the area that we could potentially introduce you to. So there's a lot of things that we do behind the scenes, more than just you saying, hey, I need a bond for this job, and we say, here's your bond. There's a lot of other services that we provide along the way, all for free.
Okay. One last question. So if I get a bond for 500,000 and my first job that I'm on is 350, the second one that I got awarded is like 500,000. Can I use that bond for multiple jobs, the bond amount? Or how does that work?
No, so yeah, great question, Robert. No, so it's those bonds, the bonds we talked about for the licensing are blanket license bonds. But what you're referring to is being on a specific, you get a job for $350,000. It requires a performance and payment bond. You provide that bond to the obligee, to the city of Charlotte. And then you're on that job, maybe you're wrapping it up, maybe you're halfway through, and you're capable and want and qualify to take on an additional job, and you bid on that, you're a successful bidder, that's $500,000. You're providing a completely fresh, unique performance and payment bond for that project. So each of these performance and payment bonds are project specific.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Any other additional questions about bonding basics? Miguel has a question. What are some of the documents that we could start to get ready prior to applying for a bond?
Yeah, so Miguel, I would say like the biggest one, the biggest one that sometimes we will ask for information. The bonding companies will require information, and a lot of that information, it could be an application that you could fill out, right? It could be, you know, we need a copy of your certificate of insurance, you know, to make sure you have proper insurance coverage. There'll be a lot of things that you would have readily available that you can just flip over in an email. But there's some things that if you're not already doing them, can take time just for you to do them. And you may not be able to move forward with the bonding program until those are done. So those are the ones we kind of like to get ahead of, right? And one that really comes to mind are company financial statements. So it's common for most small contractors, I mean, even medium-sized to larger contractors. QuickBooks is a really good accounting software program for construction companies. It didn't used to be that way, but with the updates they've made, you know, the last, say, 10 years, it's a really good, if you have QuickBooks, that is a sufficient accounting program to have, you know, up to a certain size. But QuickBooks is only as good as what you're putting into it, right? So, you know, you've got to keep that up to date. It's got to make sense. The balance sheet has to balance. You've got to be doing it. You've got to be closing your books out. And not just for the bonding company. I mean, that's your way of knowing where you stand financially too, right? So I know at a small, and again, we have dealt with and helped so many smaller contractors, and we understand you're busy, you're out in the field, you're bidding work, you don't have the money, frankly, the revenue coming in to hire people to do these kind of back office functions. You have to wear a lot of hats as a small business owner. But that's where I think this program comes in. That's one of the great things about this program is they do offer financial assistance to get you set up with the CPA. And I would say that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice is to talk to a construction CPA. You don't necessarily have to get a CPA prepared statement right away, but they can really help you understand the process of how to prepare your books, get you in touch with maybe an external bookkeeper that understands construction that you can just pay hourly if you need that. But I would say, honestly, Miguel, that's the biggest thing to get prepared for is make sure your accounting is in good order. Because once you get out of the Quick Bond program, now Quick Bond program, you don't have to do that. You know, they don't ask for financial statements for the Quick Bond program. But once you are ready to graduate out of the Quick Bond program, which may happen quicker than you think initially, you know, but once you do that, every single bonding company is going to ask for financial statements. And typically what they want is your last 3 years. If you haven't been in business 3 years, that's okay. But they're going to ask for your last 3 years fiscal year end financial statements. And when we say financial statements, we're talking about your balance sheet, your P&L, and probably an aging of receivables as well. That's typically what the surety companies ask. Most bonding companies do not work off tax returns. So they may ask for them, but most of them will want to see an internally prepared financial statement other than a tax return for your fiscal year end. I'm sorry, P&L, Miguel, P&L, profit and loss. Yeah, P&L is short for profit and loss. And that's all bundled within your QuickBooks. If you're running QuickBooks.
So Chris, I did put up these 3 links. If you want to briefly explain what they are, we will provide these links to the group as well.
Yeah, sure. And Ron, we did have one more question. It looks like came through. What are the upfront costs? How are premiums paid? Okay, so you don't, and that's a really good question too. So when you're bidding a project and you're required, usually when you're bidding a public project, almost always, the one bond we didn't talk about was the bid bond. And the bid bond is your placeholder. Most public works projects, you're required to provide a bid bond when you submit your bid. That bid bond is usually in the amount of 5% of what your bid amount is. You have to get qualified even to get that bid bond, because the bonding companies are viewing that as, if you're low on that job, then you're going to need to provide performance and payment bonds. So they're not going to approve you for a bid bond unless they've already underwritten you and are comfortable with providing a performance and payment bond on that project. Bid bonds, though, do not carry a fee. So the bonding companies are doing those for free in hopes that you win the project. You win the project, you're making money. They charge the bond premium for the performance and payment bond. So there's no charge for that. But once you get the performance payment bond, whatever that premium is, it is technically due at bond issuance, but just about every bonding company gives you 30 days, net 30 days. And that allows you time typically to bill, get your first billing in or close to it, because they know cash flow can be kind of tight early in the job. But typically the bonding companies need to be paid in 30 days. And again, it's different than insurance. Insurance, if you don't pay your insurance, they can cancel the policy. Once a bonding company issues a bond, they have no ability to cancel or recall that bond. So whether you pay the premium or not, they can't get that bond back. So therefore, when they issue it, they expect to have the premium fairly soon. And one other question popped in, if we have time, will the project ever pass? The question is, will the project ever pass the date of the bonding? And Anthony, if I'm reading your question correctly, most bonding companies, you have, with that premium, you have 2 years to complete that project. And then typically over 2 years, the bonding company will charge additional premium. Yeah, so you're saying past the expiring bonding date. The bond never expires. The bond never expires, if that's the question. So once it's out there, again, you don't have to worry about your bond, expiring while you're on the project, right? I mean, it's there for as long as the project is there. It has to be by law. So I think those were the questions. The additional links here. So we linked here the state construction office you see at the bottom. There's a lot of useful resources on their website as well. Another one that we linked to, which is the middle one, that is that's the building codes for the state of North Carolina. That my understanding is, I'm not an expert on that, but my understanding is that applies everywhere, regardless of jurisdiction. That is the governing law, building codes in the state of North Carolina. And then the top one there, that's the licensing requirements and the different classes of license. I only went into the financial component of it and what you needed from a financial perspective to qualify for those licenses. There's a lot of other qualifications that you have to have, obviously, to get those various licenses. So I'd encourage you to click on that, and there's a lot of information in there that you can read through about what you need to get your limited, intermediate, and unlimited license.
Okay, great, thank you. And these links that we're also sharing will be in your work plan. So after we do your assessment, we'll develop a work plan for you, and all these links will be in one document, so you don't have to go looking through emails and everywhere else. They're going to be in one location. That is the great advantage of the program. You get a work plan that you work off your own timeline of getting these things done, but the resources will be listed there as well. So with that, Lourdes and Chris, thank you so much for the valuable information. You know, we learn from this all the time, and it's a very critical piece of the program. Bonds. I mean, we can't do anything without it. So you guys are like our right hand, and Mark and his group is the other, you know, on the left hand. So we're all here together. And then you got Zahn that, you know, is, you know, our outreach department. So you have a great team that has been put into place for the city of Charlotte.
Yes, thank you guys for that amazing overview. Again, my name is Dawn Patan, and I'm the principal consultant at the Wonder Group. And I just wanted to shout out some of my team members that are on the call today. So we have Kim Singh, Takia Wallace, Jason Goree, and Talisha Goree. And as Robert mentioned, the Wonder Group has been tasked with supporting the program, providing outreach and marketing services to support this at a local level and make sure that contractors like you guys get all the information that you need in a timely fashion, and get all the resources connected to you to help to grow your business. So we're excited to be a part of this initiative. Time is a little sparse, so I'm going to capture some time back here. So as Michelle mentioned earlier today, there is a certification process that is a part of this program. So again, firms that are considered for different diversity certifications, it's based on whether or not the majority owner, so the majority owner, if there are two folks involved, the one who has 51% ownership of the business and control of the organization, meets certain criteria. And so some of that criteria is based on the annual revenue of the firm, whether or not the net worth of the owner, the ethnicity of the owner, or the gender of the owner. In some instances, the military service background of the owner and the level of ability and military service of that owner. We have a quick little table just to kind of go through. So you might be trying to figure out what all certifications do you qualify for. Michelle mentioned an upcoming project for the airport where they are looking for firms to be DBE certified. And so DBE is a disadvantaged business enterprise, and that certification is issued by the Department of Transportation. It is a federal certification. So if you look at the table, it basically outlines if the majority business owner is a non-ethnic male, a white business owner, the type of state and local certification that they are eligible for will be a small business enterprise based on different revenue and total revenue requirements and total net worth requirements. And on a federal level, there are programs with additional requirements like the DBE program and the SBA's 8A program. For firms where the owner is a veteran, you can identify with, at a state and local level, there are no state and local certifications around veteran businesses. But if you look at column 3, it says veteran business enterprise that is issued by the Department of Defense. And service disabled veteran owned businesses are also certified through the Department of Defense. Additionally, veteran business owners that are non-ethnic folks can qualify for the SBA and 8A or disadvantaged business provided by DOT, depending on their qualification levels. If you are a non-ethnic female business owner, the state and local requirements of a WBE is one of the certifications that you could qualify for. And then again, federally, the DBE and 8A certification is also available. And then for ethnic business owners that are not female, the HUB certification, as Michelle mentioned earlier, is one of those certifications. So the North Carolina Historically Underutilized Business Office, also known as the HUB office, issues the certifications for ethnic minority and women-owned businesses. So I know most of you guys, I know a lot of the names and faces here. So most of you are already certified by HUB. If you are not, that's something that the program really wants to encourage you to do, so that when you are competing on projects to work on the City of Charlotte projects in this program, you will be counted with the City of Charlotte Business Inclusion Office and have a CBI certification. So first you'll get your North Carolina Hub certification. And with that, it'll be reciprocally registered with the CBI office. And we can talk about how that would work. As Michelle mentioned, Kim Tibbs can help you with that. And so can she, and the whole CBI office can help you go through that process if that's something that you need support with, as well as the folks on this call that are supporting the program. If you are an ethnic female business owner, there are the Hub certifications, minority and women business enterprise certifications are some of the state and local certifications. And again, the DBE and 8A certifications are also available to you at a federal level. I know in the news, there are a lot of changes around these programs, so definitely stay tuned to see how some of these programs might be modifying based on some of the current events. And we'll keep you posted as we get more information. But for now, this is the guidance that we are providing. And we would love to see all of you certified with the City of Charlotte and start to track your progress in the program through the CBI certification. Next, we'll talk a little bit about business credit. So a lot of the folks on the call tonight really talked about making sure you have your paperwork in order. And I'm seeing questions going around, what kind of paperwork is that? Is that QuickBooks? Is that P&L? Is that an income statement? And so there are a lot of different requirements that we may need to be able to be competitive on these projects and to qualify for the programs. Robert mentioned that to get qualified, it could take 4 weeks. I'm not qualified to go through some of the assessment process. It could take 4 weeks, but this is a long game process. So make sure that you put in the time and make the investment in your business. And that looks like building your business credit over the long term. And it also looks like getting your house in order, your back office house in order over the long term. This is not a quick fix solution to your business pipeline challenges, okay? But these are awesome services and game-changing programs that can help you to be more competitive as you go after these public projects. So we're gonna talk a little bit quickly about what business credit is. I know there are a lot of YouTube videos out there about how to do this and how to build business credit. So basically, like all of the programs we're talking about today, the point of business credit is to help folks to identify your financial reputation and consider your ability to manage debt and obligations. Similar to your personal credit, the business credit represents the firm's credit worthiness in the eyes of lenders, suppliers, and partners. If you guys have gone through the different pre-qualification processes for different primes and things like this, you'll see that a lot of times they're asking for a lot of the same financial statement information. Business credit is a little different, and the way that you build it is a little different than just regular cash flow statements. The next slide. So the key components of business credit is that it starts with your credit score, which is a numeric representation of your worthiness from 0 to 100. The credit history is considered, which are the financial transactions of the business, including your loans and your credit utilization, and then a summary of the business credit reports that's used to assess risk. So all of these programs, again, are here to help assess the risk for the city, for the primes, for your partners and suppliers, and there's different tools and resources you can employ to improve your business credit. As you're growing as an organization, you want to be able to have strong credit so that you can be able to invest in growth opportunities, launch new projects, and have hire more folks with better cash flow. It also helps you to mitigate risks when things are going down, and it helps to have a good business image. So one of the resources that we'll be sharing with this group is a 90-day boot camp to help you learn to build your business credit. And so we're excited about being able to do that. And we'll actually give you some tips and tricks and also guide you through the process of completing those tips and tricks. Because a lot of these programs will show you how to do it or give you some steps, but they won't actually make sure that you get it done. So as Rob mentioned, there's a lot of guiding and coaching, and I hate to say hand-holding, but hand-holding through this process to kind of push you and nudge you to work on your business while you're working in your business and make sure that you're growing the way you want to grow. So we'll have some links and information to this 90-day Building Business Credit Bootcamp as one of the resources as we continue to roll out the full suite of services with the program. And you can skip that. All right, thank you. So some of the resources that we are going to connect you with, as Rob mentioned, in the work plans, you'll start to see some of these kind of roadmaps for you guys. From a training and educational resource perspective, there are resources at Central Piedmont Community College at the Small Business Center that are free to small businesses that are located in throughout the city of Charlotte and through several counties. So we'll give you some links so that you can register to get access to some of those free resources, including through the city, a $300 credit towards courses if you're interested in doing that. Also through the University of Charlotte, the Entrepreneur Center is a resource for leaders like you guys with office space, co-working space, meeting space, and things like that. The city of Charlotte also has additional programs for leaders. One of them is AMP Up. I know some of the folks on this call might have gone through the AMP Up program. This cycle has ended registration, but a new cycle will be starting soon. So be looking out for application information about the AMP Up program. And also the Charlotte Business Inclusion programs, we provided that link, and Michelle mentioned a lot of the seminars and meetings and workshops that they are offering to support you. Also, we have Charlotte Med Week coming up, which is Minority Enterprise Development Week. So all throughout the city, there will be events going on to highlight the work of minority business owners, just like you. That is taking place on my birthday. So be sure to be there October 2nd through the 5th. They're actually starting off with a golf tournament on the 2nd, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th are all of the Med Week events. They are all free. Please be sure to register for the Med Week events. And everything is free except the golf tournament and the luncheon. So check that out and see if that's a great way to market your business and to get out there and meet some other awesome folks. And then for folks that are looking for access to capital, which I know many folks on this call are, there's the partner for the program, which is the Carolina Small Business Fund. There are also resources through MEC Lending, which is a county-run program that offers low-interest loans. And again, you need a lot of those beginner documents with your business plans and financials, and they will also provide support for you guys to start to develop that there. There's also resources through the SBA, which is a SCORE program, and a grant is open right now for organizations that are located in the Charlotte corridors of opportunity called the Beyond Open Grant. And that is open until August 31st. And you should have received some notifications about registering for that last week. So be sure to check that out and see if you qualify this cycle. If you don't qualify this cycle, there will be 2 more cycles, and there are lots of sessions to help you get prepared to qualify for that if you are located in one of the corridors of opportunity. Also, North Carolina IDEA provides lots of different seed money and funding grants, and they are open at various levels, and we'll send the links to that. And like I mentioned before, we will provide information about registering to participate in the Building Business Credit Bootcamp. Also coming soon, we're going to try to provide a quick list of vendors for you to kind of connect with, so that you can do other services like marketing, web design, and things like that. I saw Rob, you ready to talk about training?
No, keep going.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so we have a few workshops and training classes that are coming up over the next few months. And basically, the first one is an in-person drop-in pre-qualification session. So a lot of the prime contractors have a pre-qualification process where you have to provide financial documents, safety plans, your experience modifier rate, different documents. And sometimes it can be overwhelming with all of the questions that you may have or all the documents that they're requesting. So we are having an in-person drop-in, bring your laptop session from 11 to 1 at the Small Business Center at CPCC with some prime contractors. Right now we have confirmed Turner Construction, Samet, and Messer Construction. So if you are interested in doing work with them, you'll get to meet their controller, procurement folks, and their diversity leadership, and they will help walk you through the process to do the pre-qualification, and that is on September 7th. Lunch will be provided, but you need to register to participate, and you can come anytime between 11 and 1 o'clock. And starting on September 27th, we'll begin the first academy for bidding and estimating. And this is a 5-session academy that is going to happen every Wednesday from 5:30 to 8 from September 27th through October 25th. Session 1 and session 5 are both in-person sessions, so please be sure to make note of that. And sessions 2, 3, and 4 are virtual sessions. Those will also be led by some of our prime partners who you'll get to network with and get to meet through this program. I think it sounds like a really exciting program. Rob will work with you to go through a real case study with an invitation to bid and walk through a full-on project development program. So please be there for every session, because at every session, you're going to learn something else that's required to submit in your bid. Then we have two how to do business with the City of Charlotte sessions that are scheduled, one in October and one in November, on October 12th and November 9th. So please register for those. Again, you'll meet Michelle and some other members of her team, as well as procurement team members from the City of Charlotte who will help you to understand what it's like to do business with the city. And then we have a bonding 101 session on December 7th, and this is an in-person workshop it's a virtual workshop where you'll learn the basics of bonding. So a little bit more in depth to the conversation we just had. There was one during our kickoff week, which was very impactful, and I think it helped a lot. So please log on and register for that one as well. And I think we have a few more minutes if we want to open up for questions, but if you'd like to scan this QR code, you'll get access to all of the courses scheduled, so you can register for all of them right now. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Rob as we wrap up.
Okay, well, in close, I want to thank everybody, especially our partners that took time out of their evening schedule to be on this call to learn. This is showing you how serious the City of Charlotte is about this program. It's what you put in is what you get out of it. It's free to you, but it's your time investment into the program. It's very important. I mean, we want to see you grow. I mean, those are success stories that you'll get. That's the key thing. And stay involved, ask questions, when you are in these workshops and seminars. That's the only way you're going to learn. Don't be afraid to ask a question you might think is dumb. It's never dumb. Somebody else is probably thinking the same question and won't ask the question. So please do it. We learn together. That's how we grow. Together we learn. I'm excited about the academy that's coming up. So I will be there for week 1, maybe week 5. So you guys will start to see me in person out there in Charlotte. It's not just virtual. So, I've already met a few of you guys when I was there in July. And when I get there in September, October, I want to meet some more people so we can grow this program and show you what we really mean about it. So with that, are there any other questions from anybody, our presenters, anyone? We've got a few more minutes, so feel free to turn your mic on and ask away.
One quick question, Robert. Are we allowed to bring like a office manager or like a estimator to some of these workshops, or is it just the person who's registered?
If it's virtual, you can have, multiple people. Now, if it's in person, seats are limited for that. So like for the week 1 of the academy, we just probably won't have one person, but you can have others just listen in for the other weeks. We will record everything, so you'll be able to go back and listen to certain things. Now, Zahn, you have to correct me on the pre-qualifications. All right, how many people from each firm is allowed?
For pre-qualification?
Yeah.
Oh, for that session.
Yeah.
As long as you register, just want to make sure we have enough food. It is going to be like a drop in, drop out. So we're expecting a kind of flow of folks. So we can hold about 40 people. Just make sure you register.
So they can probably have two, because one person's probably doing all the bookkeeping or whatever is there to help. And make sure when you do register for that pre-qualification that we're going to try to say, make sure you have the basics materials before you even show up, because we want to help you go through the process while you're there, not like, okay, go back and do this, do that. Try to gather all the material up front. So Zahn will have some more instructions for that upcoming pre-qualification.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys for your engagement and attention this evening. I'll just hand it over to the Meriwether team and we'll get going.
No, I just want to thank you guys, and we had a great turnout. We'll see you guys at the next workshop. And for 2024, Zahn and I are already planning the workshops, seminars, trainings. So we're already on the way with that. So that will probably be rolled out probably like November. So you can kind of see what's coming up for 2024. So, we've got a lot in store. Almost every month there will be a workshop, training, something going on. Zahn will be finding some outreach opportunities as well. So I'm really excited about everything. I do want to thank Rosa, Lakeisha, and Carlos for, their work as well, with the program. And of course, Ingrid wasn't able to be here, but she is the lady that is instrumental of this whole program for 25, 27 years. So she's presented in Tennessee today. So she's making her rounds. Well, on behalf, thank you. And with that, you guys have a great day. And like I said, reach out to your CDM, anybody that's been assigned to you, check your emails. Let's get your assessments done, your work plans, your profiles. We got a lot to do, but it's all contingent on you reaching back out to us. And with that, I want to thank you guys and have a great evening.